So, just getting right into it. So, some of you may know, especially if you play Roblox, that there's this game called Trespass. Now, it's a horror game on Roblox. It has 3 acts along with the Christmas one. That makes 4 technically, but anyway, I'm just going to be doing a basic review of the game. I'm not going to be talking about the story. This isn't like a super in-depth spoiler review or anything like that. I'm just going to be well, there will be some spoilers. It'll be like a minor spoiler warning, just to let y'all know. It's but it won't be any like specific details. So yeah, anyway. I'm just gonna start off with the first one that I ever played, which was not the best way to start it off for me personally. Like, if I played that, like, it would be understandable why I wouldn't have played the others, but I did play them, and well, you're about to see. So the first one that I ever played, it wasn't the first, second, or third one. I wouldn't have played the second or third one because I don't like playing things out of order, but anyway, that's another thing. The first one I actually played isn't the first act. It's actually the Christmas event. Yeah, this personally, this one, in my opinion, is so bad. Personally, I know, like, some people, I haven't heard really any criticism about it. It's not that popular, and some people don't hold it to as high of standards as games like Aperiophobia, however you pronounce it, or The Mimic, because those games clearly have like a higher budget and stuff. But still, anyway. So yeah, the Christmas event. It's, like I said, I do not like this chapter. I beat it. I only played it once. I'm never going to play it again. The only time I would I would consider watching like some entertaining YouTuber play it. Like if Markiplier decided to get back to Roblox, or 8-Bit Ryan, or someone like that. Then I would watch it. Then I would watch them play it. I wouldn't play it though. Because, let me just say, let me get the good stuff out of the way. Because there are a few things that are good about this event. So, if you're being chased by the elf, yes, by the way, there's an elf that chases you. Personally, okay, I'm going to get to that in a second. I said I would do the positives first, because there's not that many. As you're being chased, the elf can actually close doors behind himself, making it harder for you to get away, which is a cool idea for a chase mechanic in a video game. It's just a shame that it was done in this boring ass event. It's so, yeah, like, it's a cool idea, and I wish I hope they do more with that in Act 4. Of course, the time I'm recording this, Act 4 isn't out yet, if they're even going to make an Act 4, but yeah, that's another thing. Hopefully it does. But yeah, that's one of the only good things. Another good thing is the it's clearly there's some level of effort put into it, you know? Like, it's not some piece of shit like Minecraft flat world with like a couple buildings just put on it where you could like clearly see the landscape or whatever. Like, you could tell they put effort into this piece of shit event. Like, admittedly, I've seen worse than this. This isn't the worst thing ever, but it's not great. You know? Especially when the first two, for a lot of people, was kind of, you know, controversial, or not controversial. A lot of people were iffy on them, especially the first one. But, so yeah, personally, I don't think the Christmas event makes the Trespass series look good, in my opinion. But I still recommend that y'all see it or check it out. What's it called? It has the map in the game is actually, you know, it's actually decent. Like, you know, it's well put together. There's a lot of like detail put into the map. It's not just like in the dining room. There's not just a table and like a refrigerator, you know? Like, there's actually multiple details that have been put into the map. So at least it looks decent. The controls are fine. You know, unless you have like bad internet, the gameplay shouldn't affect you at all. Like, it runs normally. There's some decent music or atmosphere. I think the atmosphere is probably the best part. It's just ruined by other things, you know. But the atmosphere is actually not bad, you know, especially when the lights turn off, which is another thing. There's this generator, or there's some way, maybe an electric box, where you can like turn the lights in the house on and off. And occasionally it turns off. I think it gets shut off by the elf or elves. I'm pretty sure it's just one elf, but it's a cool mechanic that I wish was implemented for a better purpose than this event. But anyway, like I said, there's not that many good things I can say about it. I mean, you get a lantern. You know, you at least get something for beating it. And the lantern is kind of nice. It looks, it looks fine. When you turn it on and off, it makes a jingle noise, like with a bell. So, it's kind of, it's something. You at least get something. And the last thing I can think of at the moment is the fact that you can interact with things. Like, you pick up the presents and you have to bring them physically to the Christmas tree. Because I'm fine with the whole, like, it's in your inventory and then you press E. Like, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But it's cool to see you pick up the presents and you put them down physically. And then I think if you die, you drop the present, obviously, and you have to go back to where you dropped it or where you died. So there's some level of detail in this event, like I said. I just think all the good things about this were gone to waste, most of all, in this event. The reason I say that, now on to the bad stuff. I'll just start off by saying I hate the monster, which is literally, it's an elf. It's like 3 feet tall. It looks like a angry elf garden gnome thing. It's not scary. It's not that fast. His jump scare isn't scary at all, actually. Once in a while he says like these random like lines or whatever. Like he'll say something like, "Who said elves were cute?" or something like that. Like it was so cringe, in my opinion. I wasn't a fan of it. That monster. And the only, like I said, he can open and close doors behind him. He could also crawl in vents, which it would also be interesting if the game and this event was actually done better. But like I said, it's another interesting idea gone to waste. Personally, I guess I forgot to say this. This is my opinion. I'm not right or wrong, which is the fucking point of opinions, is that they are neither right or wrong. So, yeah, feel free to say what you think in the comments. But, yeah, anyway. So this, yeah, like I said, the elf is terrible, a terrible villain, not a great design either. Like it's not terrible as in like badly put together or like animated. Like no, it's like I said, there's clearly detail and some level of polish. It's just the design, like it just doesn't look scary or intimidating at all. You know, it's even the first time, which was the only time I played it, and the first time I got jump scared, I wasn't scared. It was like, I was kind of like off put, because I was like, what is this? Like, that's what I was thinking, you know, it's, yeah. Anyway, another thing, they're talking about, oh, you have to save Christmas, or whatever, you have to put all the presents under the tree, which for some reason, like, it's such a terrible crime that this elf is committing that you have to go all the way around the fucking house just to put presents in another room of the same house. Wow, what a terrible task you must do. Like what? Like, how is this supposed to be, like, intimidating or, like, rewarding? You're literally taking presents, walking across the house, and then putting them on the floor next to the Christmas tree. Like, how is this elf... The only thing evil that the elf would do is kill you. You know? But, like... I don't see why leaving presents all around the house is such a bad thing. And how is it gonna save Christmas? It's, you know, like, it's only, and plus it's only one house, so it's like, is everyone else in the world doing that as well? You know, maybe I'm looking too far into this, and maybe this is just supposed to be like this, like a one-time thing or whatever. I don't know. And then also another thing, there's this like monologue at the beginning, and no one's like talking, it's just words popped up. They were talking about, like, if we do this, Santa will put us on the nice list, you know, because apart from being on the naughty list, like, no, apart from, you're either on the nice list or you're fucking dead from the elf. First of all, why would Santa allow this? If there is actually a story to be told in this event, and I'm not looking too far into this, why would Santa Claus allow what I'm assuming kids to walk around a house in the dark and just while there's a killer elf on the loose? Why would he allow that? Is that really gonna bring Christmas joy? Like, no, realistically, those kids are gonna have nightmares and stuff. If they do make it out alive, that is. I don't know which one is worse. And then Christmas would be canceled for the rest of eternity, and etc., you know? Yeah. So, yeah, obviously, super logical, but like I said, maybe I'm looking too far into it, and it's not supposed to be taken that seriously. Who knows? But yeah, or maybe I'm just an asshole and I'm trying to find more reasons to hate on it. And I'm not trying to be a hater. Like, I genuinely dislike this event. It's by far the worst one. But the people at Virtuoso, I think their thing is called, their whatever, they make the game, they've clearly made improvements throughout. And I guess that is a bit of a spoiler for for what I think of some of the other chapters. But anyway, or not chapters, they're acts. But anyway, another thing that I wanted to mention for Christmas event, it's super short. There's like, if you thought the Christmas trials from the Mimic was short, because that one was pretty short. It's not super short, but it's pretty short. Then play this event if you want to. And you know, maybe being short isn't always a bad thing, and you can take that out of context however you want. But in this case, for this game mode, personally, it's too short. All right, like whatever. Because all you do, you walk into the house, you like find the tree or whatever, and then you have to find the presents and then put them under the tree, and then you exit the house. That's it. There's nothing more to it. There's no proper build up, or I would say a good send off. All you see is Santa Claus flying across the screen once, and it doesn't look cool or anything. It's just him going in a straight line, you know? Like, if look up a gameplay of the Mimic Christmas event, and you'll know what I'm talking about. Like, the animation for that part looks kind of stiff, which is, something, because the people at Trespass, or Virtuoso with this game, Trespass, their animations are usually on point, The problem with some of their games, or some of the parts in Trespass, is it's either the design flaw of some characters or places, or some aesthetically non-pleasing things. That's usually the problem. But in this case, there's a lot of problems with the Christmas event, personally. But yeah, now that we've gone over that, I'm going to go to the next one that I've played and finished, which is the first chapter. Personally, it's fine. It's nothing special. I would definitely play it again, but with friends. I wouldn't play it alone, not because I'm scared or anything, but because it's kind of, I don't know, it's just fine. if I'm playing with friends, I can at least, like, I could at least have some more fun just talking to them and, making jokes throughout and, but me playing it alone, because it's not like the most entertaining act or whatever for Trespass. But like I said, it's fine. I definitely prefer it over the Christmas event. I would be surprised if Virtuoso, after the roll they've been on recently, I would be surprised if they made an event as bad as the Christmas event. I think that was like a one-time fluke, yeah. They're basically, it just Virtuoso, and they're mortal, You can see how we've gotten a taste of a bad game, or Trespass as a whole, like if you count all four of the things. Overall, it is a fun game. It's just the Christmas event alone is bad. I would even say terrible, in my opinion, despite some things. Anyway, I'm still talking about the Christmas event. This is Chapter 1, or Act 1. Another thing I would like to say about it. There are some, despite it being better than the Christmas event, there are some things about it. I'm pretty, like, this obviously came out before the Christmas event. However, there were some trends that were passed on to the Christmas event from this. Being the Act 1 for Trespass, in my opinion, is a bit too short. It only has 2 sequences. It's similar to the way, like, the Mimic has chapters, and then it has, like, individual parts. Like, for example, Book 1, Chapter 1. The first part is from the very beginning all the way to when you get past the Hayachi maze, I think. Then the second part is getting past the part with Shizu, and then all the way to the hotel, the elevator, I think. Yeah. And then the last part is in the hotel with I forgot her name. But yeah, that's an example of like Trespass works in a similar way, where instead of chapters and parts, it's acts and sequences. The act is the overall part of and then the sequences are the individual, like, parts within the act, You could also call them, like, sub-acts, but if that may... Anyway. Chapter 1, in my opinion... I keep saying chapter. Act 1, in my opinion, is too short for my liking. It's very... I don't know, it's kind of uninteresting. And another thing is that, like, it gets worse as it keeps going on, because the first sequence, there's like a part where you're walking through the forest, which is kind of, it's kind of like it kind of takes a while to go back and forth. And then you get into the house, which I think that is the best part. When you're in the house looking for the crowbar and then the key, and then you go to the basement. I think that's the best part. And then there's also that monster with like a weapon, I think like an axe maybe. I will say the design for that monster is fine. It's, I think that monster is more kind of scary for how it acts. Like, it moves in a weird way. It's like not very predictable. And yeah, and the hiding spots are also cool because they're not like super obvious or whatever. Like, you have to like literally go behind furniture and all that. Like, it's interesting. But they didn't do that in sequence 2, which we'll get to in a bit. Another thing I want to say about Act 1 is, I got it right. There's overall, throughout the whole first act, there's too many of those cheap jump scares. And, they'll probably get you like the first time, but it gets so boring and old after a while. And they make no sense either, because it's like you can have one of the monsters like already walking around in the area, but you'll still get a jump scare of that same monster. So it's like they were just in this room, but now they're all of a sudden walking around in the other room, not knowing where you are. It's like it doesn't make sense. If you're gonna have jump scares, get them out of the way before the monster shows up and can actually kill you, But like I said, I like the hiding spots, how, they're not very obvious at first. You have to hide behind furniture and everything. It's cool. And then, I will say, there's this one part with the voice actor in the forest that I can remember. The voice acting was kind of it was kind of questionable, and it gets better as time goes on, but as a start, it wasn't great. And yeah, I think the forest part at the very beginning was kind of questionable to me. Cause yeah, you had some like nice animations, like to pick up a key, you would actually see your character crouch down, reach out with his hand or her hand and pick up the key instead of it just ending up in your inventory. Like, this is one thing. I can appreciate the little small details that get put into this game, despite its flaws, Like, there's clearly effort put into it, regardless of how much you want to like shit on the game or criticize it, you can't deny that there is effort put into it. Another thing, when you show up at the well to get the key, there's this weird like monster there, but it's like, and maybe I could be wrong about this, maybe they updated the first act. I know they did update it and they gave you like more lives to make it more fair, which I like, and the lives reset within each sequence, like just in case you die. Like, let's say you have 8 lives at first, then all of a sudden you die 3 times and you have 5, but then you beat the sequence. The next sequence you'll have all your lives back. That's one thing I like. I was just gonna say, maybe they updated this, but there's this white character that looked like a monster that shows up at the well when you get the key to open the mansion. It's not maybe they updated this, but last time I played it, that's how it looked. I never saw this monster again, and I'm not sure what the reason is for that monster being there, because like I said, I haven't seen it again, I haven't heard of it. Maybe it was just some outdated, maybe I didn't play the new version, maybe. Who knows? I could, that's why I'm not going to go too in on that one because, like I said, I could be wrong. And yes, I did do my research, but obviously I'm not going to know every little detail. Like, you know? But yeah, anyway, this is, like I said, this is my breakdown, my opinion. So anyway, another thing with the Act 1 is that there's this one moment where there's like a typo. I forgot exactly what it says, but it's in when you're in the forest before you show up to the mansion. It's very small and you may not even notice it, but it's, you know, it's there. And like I said, maybe they updated it, maybe they fixed it, but last time I checked it was there, and let's just hope it's not. That's why I would have actually gone harder on this act, but like I said, I could be talking about an outdated version. So that's Act 1, or Act 1 Sequence 1. The last part for that is the there's this chase scene at the very end of Sequence 1 for Act 1. It's super short and weirdly like set up, and it's super easy to like avoid, you know? Like, I don't even know why they made it like that, you know? I hope, and yeah, like I said, I hope they update it, or I hope it's like properly updated, you know? One more thing I'd like to mention, and this goes for the majority of the entire game actually, is I'm not really a fan of the flashlight. Like, it's not that bright. Oh crap, did I? Okay, never mind. So I messed up my mic for a second. The flashlight isn't great. It's okay. Like I said, Act 1 is fine. I would only play it again with friends, or if I did like a challenge for YouTube or something. But other than that, I wouldn't go out of my way to play it all the time. You know, there are some. It is clearly well made. The atmosphere is still good. It's consistently good. It pretty much is throughout the whole game. I'll just say that. Like, the atmosphere is good. It's solid. Another thing that I have to say is there's also a lack of story, you know? They do get into that more later on, which I'll talk about later on, but it's not like anything great in particular. There's hardly even a story at all in this game. So if you're looking for something with like an amazing complex story, or a story at all, there's really not much here to go off of. You know? I mean, there's the only thing I could say, like, there's some notes left around in the mansion. There's some parts in the forest where you run into these guys or these dead bodies, where they left behind the what they've done to those people, and their corpses mangled from trees, and one guy gets pulled into the darkness. That's the guy with the weird voice acting, but yeah, anyway, that's... Sorry, my voice is... I'm probably losing my voice. Yeah. Another thing is that it's not that difficult either. Act 1. It's a little well, the first time you played it might be tough, because it might be like confusing it's probably like confusingly set up or laid out in terms of like the setting and all, but after like you play it once or twice, it's very easy, personally for me. I don't know how it is for other people, but that's, like I said, this is just my experience, my opinion. Excuse me, sorry. But yeah, it's not that difficult, especially, over and over. Yeah, anyway, this sequence 2 for Act 1. Almost forgot. It's not as good as the first sequence with the mansion. It takes place out in the open with like this old-timey town with like it looks like the set for like a western movie or something, which could be a cool idea, cool setting and all. It's just kind of plain, and the monster there is kind of cool as well. How he you can like turn on lights to like I think distract him or whatever. So it's like, yeah, the monster is decent. Like I said, I don't like those random jump scares that pop up out of nowhere. But other than that, the monster is decent, and it looks kind of cool with all the arms and stuff. However, gameplay wise, the monster is not great. It's very simple. It's not bad. It's definitely not as bad as the elf, in my opinion, for the Christmas event, which I mentioned again just now. But it's, the monsters, like, in the first sequence, you have these creative hiding spots of, like, hiding in an attic, behind furniture, all that. But in this part, all you have to do is walk through a door, and you're good. The monster will not come inside any of the buildings, which is like it's a running theme in a lot of horror games, especially Roblox horror games. But it's not super new or interesting. I just wish they would do something more with it, which is why I really like Chapter 4, the part where the Chapter 4 of Mimic, when you're dealing with Sama in her spider form, when you have to like hide in the cabins and slash her hearts. Like if she sees you go into the locker, you're dead. However, and it pisses a lot of people off, but it makes sense when you think about it, because it's like where else did you go? Or did you just disappear? Like why wouldn't the monster check the locker? Unless it's just stupid and doesn't have a brain or something like that. When you think about it like that, it makes sense. Which is not the case in this Act 1 Sequence 2 with this monster that just doesn't go into buildings. So what you have to do for Sequence 2 is, like, at first you walk around the town, you find this broken down car, which somehow you're able to fix while you're being hunted by this monster in the same town as you. And then actually get it to work and get away with it. Like, it's very unrealistic. I'm fine with a little bit of unrealism, because obviously it's a game, However, that just doesn't make sense, It would have made more sense if the car was already there. You just had to... It would have been... You should have just been, like, collecting gas and then look for the keys or whatever. Or something like that. But to physically put in new tires, an engine, and this and that. Like you're also like, I guess you're a car mechanic now. Like like that wasn't brought up before. You just happen to be. Anyway, it's, and then also you have to wait for the bridge to go down, which it's supposed to be this really intense moment. Like the music kicks up and everything. This is the last thing you have to do. All you have to do is go into a building, wait for the bridge to be down via text on the bottom of the screen instead of actually looking at the bridge, and then go to the car, hold E, and you're good. Just like that. It's, yeah. Like I said, Act 1, if you count both sequences, it's fine. It's alright. It's playable. I would play it with friends, but it's nothing special. Anyway, next up we have Act 2, and thankfully they fix a lot of problems that I had with Act 1, and I actually think the Christmas event came out after it, which was surprising because I didn't think it would become that bad, but they definitely improved on Act 1, for sure. So there's, okay, unfortunately, Act 2 is still not perfect. I would say it's good. It is a good act. It's a good game. If you want to count Act 2 as its own game, it's good. And I definitely would play it again. However, once Sequence 3 comes along, after, you know what, I'll get to Sequence 3. Let's just say for now that it gets worse as it goes on. So, Act 2, you start off in the car, and then you're driving, and then you stop randomly because there's, I guess you just know where this building is. You know, the iron, it's the iron something. It starts with an S. I forgot the name of it, but it might be sanatorium. I don't think it is that. But it's the iron building. I'm just going to call it the iron building. So it's across this lake or whatever, body of water. There's a monster in it, which is like a snake creature, which is a pretty cool moment in the game, I'll admit. And it actually looks cool, you know. Unlike putting together the car at the end of Act 1, Sequence 2, this you have to put together like parts of a boat. It's not the entire boat, it's like the sail and the rowers and, you know, practical stuff. And you're not like under any pressure or anything. So it makes more sense here. And, you know, so you're going across the body of water to that iron building. You make it there, but the boat is destroyed. There are these dead bodies all over. Thankfully, this iron building with this super high gate and supposedly had security is just super easy to break into, thankfully. You know? But anyway, that's just, yeah, that's like, yeah, anyway. That's more of a nitpick, but whatever. So, you walk around before actually walking into the building to find this key to open the front door. And I know this sounds like a story spoiler. It's not. This is I'm not explaining like the lore of the game. This is just how it's like played. You know, like I said, minor spoilers. So yeah, you actually then you get into the building, and this is probably my favorite part of the Act 2, is the part with the blind demon-looking monster, which is actually pretty scary. I'll admit, it's intense. It's a blind monster, so it can't see you. It can only hear you, which means you have to walk slowly. Don't move when it's near you. Avoid the glass on the floor. All while trying to find a way to get through the door on the far side of the other side of the room or whatever. And to do that, you have to get a human hand, which I appreciate the gruesome, or it's not really gruesome. It's a little messed up, just grabbing someone's hand and using it like that, but like I said, it's life or death. Actually, I didn't say that, I just said it right now. Anyway, so you beat that part, which is a really cool part. Some people argue that it's like, oh, it's too dark, it's too difficult. I agree with it being very dark. This is a very, I shouldn't say dark, as in like tonally. It is, but it's more poorly lit or dimly lit, as in, that type of dark. Like sometimes it's hard to see, especially with the flashlight that still isn't really good in this act. But yeah, anyway, it's it's a cool part with the blind demon monster. I'll give it that. So then you get past that, and you go from like this security, this high security place with like the metal detectors and this and that, to then going to this door where you have to play like Simon Says with buttons, and then you're in this like dungeon looking place, which don't ask how you go from here to there, but it's fine. And then like, sure, it is a little weird how you go from one place to another, but I'm fine with it. It's not really a big deal. So yeah. Then you get to this sequence 2, which is I actually really like sequence 2 as well. Sequence 1 and 2 for Act 2 are really cool. In sequence 2, you're in this is the darkest part of the map, as in like the most dimly lit. However, it actually works in this because it's like you want to avoid the darkness, but not only because it's hard to see, but because there's this monster that will kill you if you stay in the dark too long, which is a very scary mechanic, in my opinion. And I really like the way it was done. By the way, this monster also looks really cool and really scary. And the longer you stay in the darkness, the more like creepy like whispers and stuff will be in your ear, and your vision will go blurry. So yeah, it's actually cool, So something happens to your light source, so you have to find another light source. So you can follow the what's it called? The lanterns that are just sitting on the wall, they're just perched or you can look for the lighters that are just in the other room. However, if you use them for too long, they'll run out. And they run out pretty quickly. However, it would be like it would be unfair if they gave it like a more realistic time to run out of fuel, like lighter fuel, because then it would be damn near impossible to die from that part. So they had to, they had to handicap the lighter mechanic, which is actually a really cool idea, and I really like how they implemented that with the limited lighters. Not only does the lighters, not only do they not last forever, but there aren't an infinite amount of lighters either. So it's like once you run out of lighters and you don't have all the pieces to unlocking the door, you're pretty much dead. So yeah, it makes you actually have to think and take your time, Like I said, there's no rush to that part. You just have to know what you're doing. And it's actually challenging. Unlike in the first the first act and the Christmas event, Act 2 is actually fairly difficult. Especially the first and second part. Well, actually, all three sequences are pretty difficult. But anyway, on to the third part, the third sequence. For me, this is when the game, the Act 2 sort of, it worsens for me. Actually, this is my second to least favorite. The only thing I don't like, the only thing that's worse than sequence 3 in Act 2 is the Christmas event. But the second worst is Act 2 sequence 3. And the reason for that is this is when the game starts getting really tedious and kind of bullshit sometimes, and it's really annoying at times. Especially there's these skeletons you have to fend off with your light, and sometimes you can be shining your light at the skeleton, but it will still get you somehow even when you are shining the light at it, which is, it just makes no sense, The part with the bridge where some of the planks fall, the first time it's kind of cheap, Personally, I know you have multiple lives, but it's kind of cheap, personally. I just wish... One sec. Sorry. So yeah, it's kind of it's something new. It's definitely a different it adds something new to the game. But it's still kind of in my opinion. And then the chase, the part where you're supposed to hurry up at the end, where you get to that room. It's what's it called? It takes you out of the moment when you die in that part, because you just respawn and you realize that there isn't a time limit or anything, so the game is waiting for you, which is kind of dumb in my opinion, but oh well. And then you get to this last part, which is really simple. You just find these stone slabs with letters on them, and you're supposed to put them together to create a full picture or whatever. And another thing that I dislike is that there's a cheap death that you can get, and that's if you open the coffins in that room, which is super cheap in my opinion, and I really dislike it. Personally, I just don't like cheap deaths, especially when you have limited lives and everything. Like it's stupid, you know? Like it's stupid. But anyway, yeah, like I said, Act 2, Sequence 3 is alone, it's like not great. I would say it's not very interesting. I mean, it's interesting for some reasons, but it's definitely the worst sequence in Act 2. And the second worst sequence in the entire game, arguably. Just above the Christmas event. But like I said, I still like Act 2 more than the Christmas event and Act 1, because those first two sequences are actually really cool. The part with the blind monster and the snake water anaconda thing, and then the sequence with that monster that lurks in the darkness. Like, those are actually cool parts. It's just the ending for me. Let me just look to see if there's anything else. Oh yeah, there's there's a voice for the blind monster, which is interesting. Some people don't even know that, because usually you don't want to like stand around that monster because it could easily kill you. But yeah, once in a while he'll just let out a line in a super demonic like voice, and it's kind of cool. A little attention to detail I can appreciate. Of course, it's a well-made game, well put together, good music. The monster designs are cool, except for the skeletons at the end, with the the cheap deaths and all that. And yeah, and also the animations are clean as well. Once again, the atmosphere is great. It's been consistently great, and it just keeps getting better in my opinion. Oh yeah, another thing this is the last thing I want to mention, and this is unfortunately this is like a bad thing for all of the acts along with the Christmas event, is that they're kind of pay to win. Like, you can pay to get a VIP thing where you go into the VIP section, and then you could get like an extra lantern or whatever. You can pay for infinite lives or more lives. You could pay for different color lanterns or lights. Yeah, it's when you pay for like things like infinite lives, that's kind of dumb, personally. And yeah, personally it's just not for me, because it's like you're not playing the game how it was meant to be played, really. And the fact that you have to pay for it with actual, like, I'm fine with earning, like, for example, there's this game on Roblox called Rainbow Friends. It's very similar to Us Are Toys or Poppy's Playtime. Excuse me. Yeah, excuse me, sorry. It's similar to those games because of like the premise and everything. However, and there are like you can pay if you want to buy these like skins for your box. However, if you're willing to put in the work and win a couple rounds, earn that money by not paying for it with your money and getting Robux and everything, then you can save up enough to buy another box without spending any real money, you know? Unless you pay taxes and everything. That's, anyway, yeah. That's like, that's not the case for Trespass. It's that you can pay for infinite lives and this and that. And I just wish there was a way that you can earn like currency through the hard work of beating the acts and everything. Of course you do get rewards like the lanterns and the achievements as like proof that they know you did it and all. But yeah, still it's kind of dumb in my opinion. But yeah, anyway, on to the last act, Act 3, which is the longest act in my opinion, and it is also the best one. I'm going to get the bad things out of the way because there's not that many of them. Personally, you could argue the flashlight or the light source that you have in that game is okay. Like, it's nothing special, but it's definitely better in this than it was in the previous acts. So I can appreciate that. What's it called? In sequence 3. Sequence 3, by the way, is not bad. It's just there's no the only threat you have to deal with are those the quick time events that'll show up once in a while. And even some of those you could just walk around them. So it's like there's really not a lot to deal with that. I wish there was more. It's great story-wise, amazing. It's the best storytelling of the whole game in Act 3, Sequence 3. However, there's not a lot of there's not really a threat you have to deal with, especially like since your lives will reset by then, and there might not even be enough of those quick time events to kill you. So it's like really, it's when you look at it like that, it's kind of, willy-nilly. Just you're just walking around, witnessing. You're following this ball of light, and unraveling the story more, which is great. It is really cool, especially story-wise. I just wish there was more of a threat for the last part instead of just story, personally. But anyway, that's pretty much it. Let me just double check. Yeah, there's really not that much to say. Of course, there's the still to pay to win. There are too many quick time events. However, I prefer them over the random jump scares in Act 1 and a little bit in Act 2, but in Act 2 they weren't around as much, so I didn't really mind them in Act 2. And I do prefer the quick time events because you actually have to do something instead of just react to it or get scared, So what's it called? One other thing that I would change is that the monster with the horns, which I'm pretty sure is supposed to be Miss Daisy or whatever, if I'm remembering the lore. Like I said, this is just a minor spoiler. I'm not going to get deep into it. That was just, yeah. That monster can only get you in the hallways of the mansion that you're in and also the basement. For some reason, the monster can't walk into doorways for some reason. I can understand the vents I do like that you can crawl and that there's vents. I just wish the monster would be able to get you in the doorways, you know? I'm fine with the monster not checking in those rooms if it can't see you, but if it does see you walk into those rooms, if I was the monster, I would walk right in and kill that person, because unless the monster is like super obese and it can't fit through the doorway, like, you know, it just doesn't really make sense. But other than that, it's still really cool. One more thing. This is a nitpick. This isn't even really a bad thing. The part right after, in the first sequence where you find the little girl's teddy bear and you get out of the house, you ask her how to get around the thorns for this pathway. But really, they're not that high. I mean, they're taller than you. But you could clearly, like, just climb up the hill a bit and just go around them. Like, I don't see how that was really a challenge, personally. I didn't mind doing all those, like, tasks for the spirits or whatever, I guess you could call them. Like, it actually adds some decent, like, character development for your character you play as, and a little bit of world building to know, like, what the town was probably like before, you know. So it's cool, you know. And yeah, so anyway, let's get started. The first sequence for Act 3 is solid. The first part, first off, I think you play, I don't think you're a spirit or anything. However, you are like glowing white or whatever. So it's very interesting to know, like, you know, I can appreciate the ambiguity behind it. I think that's the word I'm looking for like who you're, like, what your role is, learning what your role is in this story. So yeah, there's the first monster you encounter is in this house. All you have to do is find a teddy bear and avoid her. And also and you know, once in a while you have to hide from her, and you have to walk around looking in drawers and stuff. And it's actually a fairly in-depth little section of the game, because the drawers are, like, they're not super, like, symmetrical or, like, predictably placed. Like, you have to actually look a decent amount to know where everything is. And of course the flashlight or whatever light source you're using doesn't really help, but it's still interesting. And it's also one of the smaller parts of the map. So I'm glad they didn't really, like, do too much with it, even though the monster was scary. Like, the noises she made, and then the pitter-patters of her feet. All you have to do is find the teddy bear and then get out of the house. I'm glad that was all they did with that. And then you proceed, you go through past the thorns, and you get to this other, like, a little broken down shed with this old man spirit. By the way, you get the teddy bear from the house, so you can get this key fragment from a little girl. So then you have to get a key fragment from this old man spirit as well. And to get that, it's inside this box that he doesn't know how to open, because there's like a code, and he doesn't know how to figure it out. So you have to go in the shed and figure it out. And yeah, it's a neat little puzzle, and it actually takes some effort to, like, figure it out, you know. So you do that, you get another key fragment, and then this, the last part of sequence 1, or technically the last part, like you walk through the main town looking area with like a lot of houses and a church. You run into this last guy who, he asks if you could retrieve his things that he uses for witch hunting. And on the way back, you have to fight off these creatures. And by like, you like blind them or whatever, and then you stab them when they're blinded. And it's actually a decent little combat section of the game, which Act 2 didn't get right with the skeletons and the light source of Sequence 3. Unlike that moment, the combat in this little section was actually decent. It's, you know, it was neat. So I can appreciate them fixing their previous mistakes. Yeah, anyway, so you get the last key fragment to open, to put together the key finally, and then open this gate that goes into the mansion. And this part is probably my favorite part of the whole game, including all acts, because, this is Act 3, Sequence 2. It's when you're in the mansion. I think when you're in the mansion, of course, it starts off, there's this, there's plenty of lore to discover with all of the notes, which thankfully are, like, you can find them chronologically if you can. However, even if you don't, it's still fine, because it's still, like, you get the gist of it. And it's actually, the storytelling in this is actually interesting, you know? And the monster that you run into, which we'll get more into in a second, actually has a voice, which I like. And the monster does look really cool. It looks like a devil wearing like an angel's robe or whatever, which sounds weird when I say it, but it's actually really cool. You should play Trespass to see for yourself. So anyway, so it starts off, you're in the mansion, you're looking around, trying to figure out, you know, I guess I'll say this is a minor spoiler. You're looking for your grandpa and what happened to him. That's all I'm going to say. But there is a lot more to it, and it's done really well in this entire act. Act 3 is great. So this is also when the quick time events show up, and I liked the way they were done more in this part than they were in Sequence 3, only because I feel like they made more sense here, personally. And yeah, they were more like unexpected, you know? So there's that. Also in the basement of Sequence 2, there's this vent you can crawl into, which is really cool because it's like an alternate route to avoid the monster and everything. There's this one vent that you can crawl into where if you go far enough into it, this monster that shows up for like one of the quick time events shows up, and it looks like it's following you, but then after it gets to a certain point, it just stops and just dies on the floor, I guess. However, the first time I saw it, like it got me going, you know? Like I thought this thing was going to be chasing me throughout the vents, and then I'd have to worry about 2 monsters possibly. So, you know, it got me going. I'll admit, it was cool. It was a cool little sequence. I don't know if it was like, if that was like added on for like an update or anything, but when I played it and that happened, it was really cool. So yeah. Um, Another thing, uh, the uh, the task that you have for sequence 2 is you have to open this door to go to this realm, which is the realm that you're walking through for sequence 3. So to open it, you have to find these runes, and you have to get these blue candles with like a blue flame or whatever, and you have to use the flame to melt the wax of the candle and pour it into the runes, and it opens the door. It's through some like magic stuff. It doesn't, like I said, it's magic. Magic is, I don't think you could really explain a lot of magic without making it sound too nerdy or contradicting with science and everything. However, it's magic. Just, you're supposed to take it how it is. So you're doing all that stuff, some ritualistic candle melting or whatever. So it's all while avoiding the monster. Which, by the way, there is another cool mechanic for the monster. There's this record player that is introduced. However, it was introduced in a clever way. It was introduced at first for story purposes, but then if you go back to it after the monster shows up, you can use it when you turn the music on. It slows the monster down. However, when the music stops playing, the intense, scary atmosphere kicks in again. The monster starts moving faster and more aggressively. So it's cool, you can turn the music on and the monsters temporarily calm down a bit, but it could still kill you if you're not careful. When the music turns off, the monster is running faster, heavier steps and everything, and it's a very cool mechanic, and it was done very well in this. So I can appreciate that. Like I said about the previous acts or whatever, it's obviously well made. This is the most well made act, and I'm hopeful that they keep up this streak of getting better, in my opinion. Or they haven't really been on kind of a streak. Well, anything is an upgrade from the Christmas event, which I mentioned again. But yeah, it's cool, Trespass Act 3 is a great addition, and I hope they keep up the good work. I hope they learn from the few mistakes that they, because it's obviously not perfect. I would still prefer other Roblox games such as Mimic or Aperiophobia, or some other games. But Trespass is, like, for me, if you were to count all of the what's it called, all the acts, including the Christmas event, into one, Trespass, in my opinion, is a overall, I'd say either high B tier or low A tier for me personally. Yeah, Trespass is a great little series, and it's so far only getting better. If Act 4 does come out, let's just hope it is a really good chapter. Yeah, that's so far, that is it for this review of Trespass. I'm going to be doing more of these. I'm going to do one on the entire Mimic franchise so far. And then obviously I'll update it when they put out new stuff. And then I'll do one on Judy. I'm going to do one on Aperiophobia, sorry. I don't even know why I said it like that. But the next one, those are like future videos. The one I'm gonna do next, eventually, is this little series called Tree Yard. It's one of those Mimic-esque games where it's like heavily inspired by the Mimic, but it's not exactly. There's some differences. Uh, it's really not like super worth it to just. You know what, I'm not gonna say that much more. For Tree Yard, I have a lot to say about that series. Some good, some bad. But I'm sure some of you will enjoy it. Most of you might not even know what Tree Yard is. I might not even have enough like Google images of the actual game to put in that fucking video when I do make it, because that's what I'm gonna do for this one. Because I'm still low tier YouTuber, still getting off the ground and everything. But yeah, enough from me. And yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed.